I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents.
Does Lino Rulli catch more than he bargained for?
Don't give up, you're the man. 2.
Reaching young people without using push-ups.
Our challenge to find other ways to connect with them, and certainly technology is a big piece of it.
And what's bringing all these teenagers together?
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us this Tuesday. Well, nobody ever said that being a teenager was easy. I know they are not my favorite years. Oftentimes they're filled with drugs and alcohol, teen pregnancy perhaps, schoolwork, lots of it, and sometimes just fitting in. It can often be a rough time in a kid's life.
Absolutely, and sometimes kids may not know where to turn, and even well-meaning adults can feel like just throwing up their hands and giving up hope.
But not Justin Fatica, he does have a unique way of reaching out to young people.
And he's Lino Rulli's Catch of the Day.
Justin Fatica is this amazing youth minister. He's getting teenagers excited about their faith with an energy and vitality like you've never seen before. He's launched a ministry called Hard as Nails. He's written a book about it, and HBO even did a documentary on him and his life. I wanted to meet this guy for myself, and I caught up with Justin on his home turf, the gym. All right, so most people working out do it for your own personal gain.
Yeah.
But what do you mean you do workouts for others? You're praying for others?
Yeah, man. You know, like my wife, I travel a lot. I better be praying for her.
So how long have you been working out for? Your whole life?
No, I wasn't into working out until about 21, 22.
How old are you now?
30.
I'm 37. I started working out about 10 minutes ago.
You're a character.
You don't strike me as a very passionate person. No, seriously, where does all this passion come from? Be honest now, where does the passion come from?
You know, with what's going on in our culture, if we're not passionate about love, passionate about, you know, young people, passionate about giving people hope, then if we have a problem with young people, if any adult out there says, oh man, the youth these days, what problems? Well, who are the business leaders that created the problems? The kids didn't create the problems. So really on my heart of hearts is these young people. We need to be a generation of hope and love and of faith.
Are you putting these on for you, Justin?
Yeah.
This isn't going to be for me.
Why not, man?
Well, because I can't, what are you talking about? If I get a pickup truck, maybe I can tow it, but I'm not going to be able to pick it up. I'll try to spot you, but I'll just be watching.
All right, you spot me, man.
Camera guy's spotting you too, for that matter. We're all spotting you.
Remember this, Lino. We need a lot of people spotting us.
Where did this all start? Where did this all come from? This whole Hard as Nails Justin thing, where did this all come from?
It's not just me, you know. That's the big thing I don't want it to become about. If it's about me, then what I'm doing is worthless. I just saw the culture, and I just saw what was going on. I was like, we need to be real here. And we need something attractive. We need something different. We need something exciting. And is it exciting? Is it different? I don't know. You know, you tell me. But it's reaching out. It's working.
You're strong in the faith. You're strong with these weights. I'm weak. Now you got to spot me spiritually and probably physically, all right?
No, first of all, I'm probably weaker than you both ways.
I wish. No offense.
Yeah, you're probably stronger than me in a lot of other ways. Remember, the weak are strong, the strong are weak, Lino. Come on. Come on, go, Lil. Don't give up. You're the man. 2. Jesus' story is what it's about. St. Paul's story. You go down the list in the history, and St. Justin the Martyr, his story. Is his story great because he's like, I'm the man, oh, I'm jacked, you know what I mean? Like, right? I got veins popping out, you know, like, is that why his story's great? No. His story's great because he was a martyr. You know, his story's great because he got dissed. Hard as Nails has been one of the bigger challenges of my life. Misrepresented, misused, mistreated, and you know, but it's been the greatest experience in my life. Except for having kids and my wife and my
this interview,
family.
just hanging out like this.
Of course, Lino! If we're weak, we're like Jesus, Lino. Remember that, man.
And you're weak.
If we're weak, we're like all the saints. If we're weak, we're like all the people that we're supposed to act like. Why is everybody trying to act so tough? Why is everybody trying to act so strong?
Because I'd rather look like you than me.
Little help? Hey, okay, now we're getting where we need to be. Come on, Lino, you gotta admit, I'm the top 10 jerkiest Christians in the country.
Especially if you keep hitting me like that, you're number one. We don't even have to vote.
You're like the nicest guy. I want to be like you.
Here's the problem. My nose is the biggest thing in this ring, so I'm just afraid of what
Hey, that's the Italian thing, you know what I mean?
This, not this. What's going on in our society? What are you and I and everybody else dealing with? Are we missing God's love? What are we missing in our lives that we need more than anything?
You know, authenticity. When are we going to start being okay with each other? When are we going to start looking at our dad who left us and go, he has a story too. Maybe I should reach out and love him because he ain't God. We're going to start realizing that our mom, who was 19 and got pregnant, and we're judging her all these years, and we didn't get this and get that. You know what? She was 19 and kept the baby. We're going to start realizing that there are a lot of people out there that need to be respected and honored more than they're being. And all we're doing is looking at them as objects or as weak, just because when we look in the mirror, that's what we see. You know, when we realize and admit the real person we are, we can love others no matter what. And if I die tomorrow, so what? I had a book, hard as nails, you know. So what? I had a movie on my life. But hopefully when I die, people walk by my casket and go, you know what? He wasn't perfect, that's for sure, that guy. But you know what? He loved me no matter what. And that's my goal. You know, that's what it's all about.
That is Justin Fatica, Hard as Nails, and Lino Ruli's Catch of the Day.
I was afraid for Lino's safety there for a minute.
When he was doing the...
when he was doing a lot of the working out, I think Lino and I probably work out about the same amount, very little.
Well, it's interesting that he's connecting the idea of being physically strong and reaching out in that way, which is something that oftentimes I think kids, young boys, especially young men, can relate to, with the whole idea of connecting with other people, being loving and being loved. I mean, it's certainly a novel approach.
Right, but he also, you know, is saying too that, you know, if you're weak, that's not a bad thing either, because you know, as he was saying, if you're weak, you're like all the saints. So the weak are strong.
Right, and you can always build up to that if you do a lot of push-ups.
Exactly. Well, stay tuned. There's much more current straight ahead. Coming up, don't worry, school isn't starting just yet, but it's never too early to think about the flu.
And asking the whole world to clean this river.
Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime. Coming up a little bit later, why email may not be the quickest way to reach young people.
But first, let's have a look at today's headlines. Well, cover your noses and use that hand sanitizer. The new school year is almost here, along with concerns about the H1N1 virus or swine flu. Catholic schools have been advised to follow the same protocol as public schools, and that is closing should be a last resort, and those infected should stay home until they're no longer contagious. This comes on the heels of news from a White House panel that suggests 90,000 people could die from swine flu in the U.S. this year. A Connecticut priest convicted of embezzling $1 million from his parish has died of prostate cancer. Father Michael Jude Fay had been serving almost a year of his 3-year prison sentence. Reports say he used the $1 million to buy designer clothing, Cartier jewelry, limousine rides, and Ethan Allen furniture. Well, Christians on Facebook have been the target of online hackers in recent days. The hackers come from the same group that broke into the email account of former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin. The group, called Fortune, apparently stole usernames and passwords from a Christian dating site and then used that information to hack into the Facebook accounts. In one instance, hackers superimposed an account holder's face onto a photo of a nude model and posted that to her account. Status updates posted on other hacked Christians' accounts include hate-filled and racist messages. Now, there's no word on exactly how many users were affected.
Well, when it comes to the return of the Latin Mass, the reaction of most Catholics is, huh? A new study out of Georgetown University shows that a majority, 63% of those surveyed, have no opinion whatsoever about use of the older version of the Mass. But it seems that everybody does seem to have an opinion about the economy, and it was in the news again as President Obama took a moment from his Martha's Vineyard vacation to nominate Ben Bernanke for another term as Federal Reserve Chairman. A new White House estimate shows the deficit soaring to $9 trillion over the next decade. The president blamed the current economic crisis on, among other things, over-leveraged banks and maxed-out consumer credit cards. Echoing the president's message, Pope Benedict's first social encyclical, Charity and Truth, specifically addresses morality in economic life. And if you'd like to learn more, St. Vincent Ferrer Church in Manhattan will be holding a public forum to discuss the encyclical tomorrow night. Speakers include Archbishop Timothy Dolan, and for details, you can just click on our blog, Riding the Wave, at netny.net/currents. Well, the environment is also on the radar screen of both the Pope and the President, and Rome Reports has the details of a new campaign in Israel that is doing its part.
According to the scriptures, Jesus Christ was baptized here, in the Jordan River, some 2,000 years ago. 1,000 years before, the people of Israel crossed the same river to get to the Promised Land. During those years, the waters were abundant and clear. But today, the Jordan River is contaminated. There are monasteries and churches along its shores. Hundreds of pilgrims come here to be baptized without knowing they're entering risky waters. That's how Sahul, an Israeli environmental organization, paints the picture of the Jordan today. For 10 years, Sahul has worked to protect Israel's beaches and rivers. During the Pope's trip to the Holy Land, they asked him to help turn the Jordan back to its original biblical beauty. According to Sahul, the kibbutz, factories, and fish farms are at fault for the current situation of the Jordan. They say that since the construction of a dam in the Sea of Galilee, water flow has decreased significantly. Along one of its more visited spots, the width of the river has shrunk by 50%. Sahul has launched a website called SaveTheJordan.org as a platform for their global campaign. The site has detailed information on the Jordan River's current situation, as well as information on helping the cause. Visitors can also sign the letter to the Pope asking for his support.
The environment will be front and center when the Pope marks World Peace Day on January 1st. Benedict has chosen as his theme the connection between world peace and protecting the environment.
Well, stay tuned. We have much more currents coming up straight ahead.
Coming up, Twitter me this. How do you evangelize the next generation?
We really have to do either the Facebook thing or the instant messaging because emails just takes too long.
Well, earlier we met Justin Fatica, who is enthusiastic and creative, obviously, in bringing faith to a new generation of young people.
He definitely is that.
He's pumped.
That's right, literally. But he's not the only one on the front lines of the new evangelization. Now, not long ago, I actually had the chance to sit down with a couple of others who minister to youth. We're so happy to be joined now by a couple of folks who really do know a lot about the youth of the church and how the church is trying to reach out to the youth and keep them involved in the Catholic Church. Marilyn Santos is the coordinator for adolescent and young adult faith formation for the Diocese of Brooklyn. And Mike Hayes is author of a book called Googling God, which is about the faith of people in their 20s, also does a blog by the same name, Googling God. So that really kind of brings it home, I guess, for a lot of young people because, you know, the technology is such a huge part of everyone's daily life. A recent Pew study actually found that 68% of people who are identify themselves as Catholic when they're younger, when they're a child or when they're in the youth age, teenagers, 68% of them actually remain Catholic through adulthood. Is that a pretty accurate number, you think, Mike?
I think it's a pretty accurate number that people who are raised Catholic tend to stay Catholic. I mean, it's pretty much that simple. How involved they are in the Catholic Church might be a whole other, you know, cup of tea, if you would.
The cafeteria Catholic.
Exactly. Or not even that. I mean, most young people don't even necessarily happen to have a problem with the church or anything like that. It's just not really part of their lives. Like in my book, I call them eclipsed Catholics. Like there are people who, you know, might have 2 or 3 kids, or they might have a lot of different activities in their own lives, and they eclipse their need for spirituality or their need for the church. So there's just a lot of things going on, and church is one more thing to add to the to-do list.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, folks are so busy now. I mean, you know, you look at your daily life, and with the technology comes staying connected to everyone, everywhere, 24 hours a day, and then it just adds another layer of busyness in amongst everything else that we have going on. Marilyn, what are some of the challenges that youth face today in staying involved with the church?
Well, I would say one of the number one challenges is that they have a lot of choices. There's not just technology, but there's a lot out there for them to do. Our young people are a lot more independent at a lot much earlier age than in perhaps even our generations, which is not so long ago, I hope. But they, and the pressure, there's a lot of pressures on them and a lot of stress for them to succeed and to be independent. So it's not just the easiest choice to make to go to my Friday night parish youth group. Therefore, it's our challenge to find other ways to connect with them, and certainly technology is a big piece of it. Recently, we did some informal surveys, and most adolescents or teenagers no longer bother checking emails. That's too slow for them.
Wow.
So if we want to reach them, we really have to do either the Facebook thing or the instant messaging, because emails just takes too long.
Wow, we've come a long way, haven't we? Don't whatever you do, don't send it by Pony Express. You know, that won't work at all. Well, that Pew study that I was talking about to kind of start things off, and I'm going to get my numbers right here. The Pew study actually found that the best predictor of people remaining with the Catholic Church is Mass attendance, and actually going to Mass on a regular basis during their childhood and during their teen years. Found that those folks tended to stay with the church for longer. Well, Sister Marianne Walsh, who's the director of the Office of Media Relations with the Bishops' Conference, wrote an article that says that the challenge for the church is really to keep Mass interesting and make it more attractive. How do you think, Mike, the church can go about doing that?
Number one, the thing that people always ask for is a strong welcome, good music. We could debate all day what we mean by good music, but I mean, it can't be, just horrible, people banging on the organ and flat notes. I mean, it has to be at least somewhat alive to at least continue with people's, to get people's interest. And then two, I think the other thing is a real relevant sense of homilies, that homilies aren't diatribes against modern society, because that's where young people are spending all their time. So if you're telling them that this isn't a place that they could spend all their time, they're like, well, what do I do now? How does the church make themselves appear to be a vital part of the world in which they live in? And how can they translate the wisdom of the church into a way that makes sense to them, in ways that they can integrate it into their everyday life? I mean, I think that's what we try to do at bustedhalo.com, is just we take things that are going on in everyday life, and then we say, church, everyday life, not so far apart. Here's where the message really is.
There you go, and here's what can maybe link the two together.
Correct.
Well, Marilyn, I know that you are very involved in a lot of things going on, especially, you were just telling me earlier about World Youth Day, and you went to Sydney, I believe, last year, and we're very involved in that. Do you think that World Youth Day is reaching out to youth? How big of a tool is that really right now to reaching youth and keeping them involved in church?
Well, World Youth Day is a wonderful thing if used properly, like any tool. The preparation before going there, and I think even more importantly is when we come home, what we do with it. Otherwise, it just becomes a really nice memory. It was a really nice vacation. Every once in a while, I'll share my pictures with you, but it doesn't really translate into a faith experience, which is at the heart of everything that we do. Even on a diocesan level, when we do gathered things for young adults or adolescents, it doesn't really have any value unless those young people can then bring home something to their parishes, to their domestic church, or to their schools. So it really is the challenge of those of us who help to organize those trips is what do we do to ensure that that experience continues being translated back home, whether it be through continued communication, regatherings here, encouragement, offering of other workshops or other experiences now that we're back home on home turf, so that experience doesn't just stay in the distant memory.
Well, Marilyn Santos of the Brooklyn Diocese, and Mike Hayes, the God Googler and the senior editor over at Busted Halo.
Love that name. Stay tuned. We have much more current straight ahead.
Coming up, these young people are turning their lives around.
It pulled me in because I found somewhere I belong and where I can have fun with my faith.
Well, tonight we've already met 3 people who are ministering to youth in very dynamic ways.
They sure are, and we wanted to show you another group from our area that is reaching young people and helping them turn their lives around.
That's right. So it's actually called Youth 2000. The group holds retreats throughout the year, and earlier on in the summer, we actually visited them in Garnerville, New York.
The world makes kids feel like outcasts today.
God is present, but it's hard to see sometimes.
I'm in a public school. That's like one of the forbidden things to do. You can't talk about God. You can't have anything associated with God.
Society just wants to cut God completely out of everything, like the whole Xmas thing, and kids have no real guidance to go anywhere if they need hope.
U2000 is an international movement where we sponsor Eucharistic retreats for young people. We have the Eucharist set up in the middle of a large gym or an auditorium that becomes a chapel, and the whole weekend is done in front of the Blessed Sacrament except during Mass and the Rosary. We have solid 40-hour devotion brought down to a teenage level.
Before U2000, I was a regular kid on the streets, like trying to look for an answer.
I have grown up with like physical abuse, mental abuse, drug abuse, sexual abuse.
I was involved with gangs. They made me do things I didn't want to do, stealing, robbing people. I had to do it, or they were gonna jump me. I was scared. I thought I was loved. I thought they loved me.
I wasn't happy. I was always lonely. I was always reaching for more, reaching for more, reaching for more. Never could really grasp it because the one that fulfilled me was Jesus.
Youth 2000, they show you that God is present in the world and that we're made to be children of the light. We're made to be living in the light.
I got involved with Youth 2000 just because I was working with young people in a parish, and I brought them to a retreat, and I was so moved by what was happening. I knew that it was something that was going to go on for a long time, and it's something that I needed to be a part of.
I have a lot of friends who think being Catholic is boring. I said, yeah, they could make it a little more interesting for a younger crowd because that's what we need. We need that motivation to draw us in, to pull us in. And that's what Youth 2000's done for me. It pulled me in because I found somewhere I belong and where I can have fun with my faith.
I wasn't really into my faith until 2003 when I actually had a conversion at Youth 2000. It was amazing. I just had so much zeal for the faith, and I just felt so renewed, like a new person. Everything in me was completely renewed.
I remember just praying to God, like I want to be with you, because there has to be more to this life than what it is. And then for some reason, I just felt the Lord say to me, I am with you and I love you. And then on, I just started crying, and I had to hide up underneath my shirt because I didn't want anybody to see me. And basically all that happened at Youth 2000. So yeah, thanks be to God for that.
And so I ask you. I learned more about God, and I did my communion, and I got baptized finally.
It actually gave me a reason to pray. My relationship with my parents has improved astronomically. We sit down for dinner, we talk, we laugh, we joke. Nobody crying at the end of the night.
A Youth 2000 is like a home.
I always try to bring back more people because every person that has come with me has had a wonderful experience. It's very, very powerful. It changed my life.
And the next Youth 2000 retreat will take place on September 18th through the 20th in Dix Hills, Long Island. And you may recognize Angela Scannapieco. She's the director of Youth 2000 New York and is also a consecrated virgin. Lena Rulli did a piece with her on
right,
that.
we were just talking about that as the piece was playing. She was actually Leno's very first catch of the day that he did with us right here on Currents. Well, that's it for this edition of Currents. But before we go, we want to talk a little bit about the night that everyone in all of Brooklyn and New York as a whole has been waiting for. Now, for the past few shows, we've been giving away tickets to tonight's Brooklyn Cyclones game against the Vermont Lake Monsters, but that is just part of the story. Now, of course, there's a lot of baseball going on. Baseball is kind of winding to an exciting pitch. Right, a fever pitch, as we would say, but to an exciting climax of the baseball season. We've also got the Little League World Series going on, team from Staten Island there, but all of them can learn something, I'm sure, especially the pitchers, from our own Francesca Maxime.
Not so much. Honestly, I was talking about this yesterday on Facebook with some friends or whatever. I basically practiced for my first pitch the way that I practiced for my Italian final, which was I was listening to opera. And so I was, so I'm watching these video pitches of people pitching, like all these, MLB pitchers, hoping that I will absorb the good karma of pitching. Needless to say, I failed my Italian final. So I really hope it doesn't end up the same way.
It's like learning by osmosis almost.
Well, it was an attempt anyway. So I'm going to try to go up there a little earlier and do a few warm-up pitches.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. We'll hope that the practice does some good.
I got to make the net proud, make the Currents team proud.
Well, you will. I'm sure you won't disappoint. I have faith and confidence in your pitching ability.
Yeah, okay, you're better at praying than me. That's good. Pray for me. Pray for me, everybody. Please, pray for me.
And come out and support her as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, come out tonight, of course. Tomorrow night, we will have highlights from my night at the ballpark. You'll get to see exactly whether or not I sink or swim.
Right. So keeping with our water theme. Until then, be sure to check us out online. Just head on over to netny.net/currents. You can watch clips of the show there. Check out our blog. It's called Riding the Wave. We're always updating it, and while you're there, be sure to join in on the conversation as well. You can leave your comments.
You can also follow us on Twitter. The address is twitter.com/currentsny, and you can get the latest updates on the show from that. So for all of us here at Currents, I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.